We're filming this video on location over a period of several days. I'm going to tell you where we are and what's going on. So one evening last week, it was almost dark, not quite. We'd put our son to bed. It was a school night. And my beautiful bride Dearly, aka Giggly Girl, and myself were actually going to bed very early. It was dusk. And someone knocked on our door, which is odd because that just never happens. We live way out in the middle of nowhere. We have gates, we have security cameras, we keep to ourselves. So I got a little nervous at first, so I reached over to the nightstand, opened the drawer, and felt around in there, grabbed my what we'll call protection. Okay, I grabbed my crayon. So I took my crayon and I made my way to the door. I opened the door and there stood this little old man, hunched over, probably 80 years old. And he said, "Are you the one they call Crazy Lake?" And I said, "Well, sir, I reckon I am." He goes, "We got to talk." So I stepped out on the porch. He sat down without even being invited to do so. And we'll try to make this short, which, as you know, I'm not very good at. He goes on to tell me that he lives in an old cabin on top of the mountain, this mountain, that is several miles away from our place if you take the road. But if you walk up the hill, as I've been doing this week, and you're going to understand why here in a minute, it's about 3/4 of a mile. Now, he lives by himself. His wife's been dead more than 20 years. He's always in the forest cutting firewood. He's got his gardens. He grows most of his own food. And he said that he has experienced some strange things, and it just occurred to him about a week ago that they're very similar to the things we've been experiencing on our homestead. And ironically, like I said, he's only 3/4 of a mile away above us. So how he came to know about us and what we had going on was that he said, these are his words, he says he had a family of do-gooders from some church who likes to come out about twice a week and bring him provisions. He says he doesn't really understand why, because he's got money in his basement piled up to the floor and it's so old it's got mold growing on it. You guys know the type. But he says he likes them, he enjoys talking with them, gives him somebody to talk to a couple times a week. And he tells their teenage children these stories about some of the experiences he has on his property, and they cling to every word, and he kind of gets a kick out of it. And so he doesn't tell them, he doesn't need their provisions. He takes them, happy to see them every 2 weeks. So he said last week when this family came up to bring him stuff he didn't really need because he can afford to buy it himself, one of the kids had their gadget, as he called it, but it was a cell phone. And they said, look, this is like the stuff you're talking about. And they were showing him the videos. Now, of course, he recognized our place because his family's been here on the land for 6 generations. That's how we got all that old moldy money. I don't think anybody in his family's had to work since too long after the settlement of Jamestown. But he said he didn't tell them too much when he watched those videos, but he knew in his head that we were having the exact same experiences down here that he's having on top of his mountain. So he said, "Look, Crazy Lake," he says, "I got trees down to everywhere, as you can see here, and I'll give you another view." He says, "I got red oak, he's got some hickory, I got the best firewood burning logs all over my place." He said, "And I'm kind of afraid to go out there and cut them because every time I do, I feel like these things," he called them wood boogers. He says, "I feel like these boogers are just all over me, just staring through me." And said he's getting older, it's getting to be hard work anyway. He says, "Look, if you come up and you bring your little cardboard cutouts and you bring your camera, he says, if you're willing to work on my place for about a week, cut up some of this wood," he says, "you take half, leave me half. See if you can get anything on camera to confirm my suspicions. I'd really appreciate it, and you can have as much wood as you want, as long as you only take half." So I said, "All right, that's a deal. Sounds like a win-win to me." And so here we go over the course of the next several days. And I've been over here cutting for several days already, as you can see. And yes, I've had the hair on the back of my neck stand up a few times. So we're going to see what we can get on camera. So pay very close attention. Get ready to put timestamps, what you think you see or hear, and what you think it is, what time in the video you think it is. And let's see if we can confirm for this kind old hermit man with all that moldy money in his basement, his suspicions. Hey guys, this is day 2 of filming, working up here at the Old Hermit's Homestead up here on top of the mountain, about 3/4 of a mile above my place. Yesterday I recorded the opening scene, the introduction, but I didn't have any scenes where I was holding up the blue rectangle or the red circle because frankly, there were a couple of times where somebody over here wants some attention, where I felt like the hair on the back of my neck was standing up. But as I looked around to see if he, she, it, or they was peering at us from a treetop or from behind some boulders, the older gentleman that owns the place would show up just to chat for a bit. So I think it was just, I could sense somebody was watching me and it was him. So we're going to see if we can get some more footage today. Timestamp what you think you might see or hear. We see any peekers coming out behind trees or whatnot. Okay guys, so here's what's going on. I've got this camera set up to overlook where I'm going to be working. I'm going to be down in that ravine getting the wood that I cut up yesterday, throwing it up out of the ravine, dragging it on the sled to the clearing so that we can pick it up with the tractor. I want you to keep your eyes open. Back here there's a big giant outcropping back. Oh hey, the gentleman that owns the place just showed up. Yeah, I'm actually trying to get some of this on video. Do you want to say hi? Or he says he's shy, but then you know those people that watch the video that kind of told you about me can. He says he doesn't want to. What's that? Sure, I'm not going to turn down a second set of hands. Oh, okay. Well, he says he's going to help me, but he doesn't want to be recorded on any. He called it a contraption. Well, I have this thing I call it. Well, yeah, you saw it in that one video. Yeah, okay. Well, he doesn't want to be recorded. So I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to take advantage of the second set of hands. And then, sir? He must have gone in for water or gloves or something because now he's gone. Okay, well, I'll record until he gets back. I'm going to go over here and throw stuff up out of the gully. So you just keep your eyes open. See if you see anything. If you do, timestamp it. Watch up here. Guys, something really weird's going on here. This is day 3 of this experiment, this little project I've got going on here, helping this old man that lives about 3/4 of a mile through the woods. Up here behind me, split wood. So I was just getting ready to go up to his place. I was going to drive. It's a couple miles on the road, but just 3/4 of a mile straight up the hill. And I came out and I saw him standing at the edge of my woods. So I figured, well, rewind and listen right there. I figure he wants to walk up, so we'll walk up. I came over here. He stepped into the woods just as, I wasn't 10 yards away from the woods myself. I step into the woods and now he's gone. Okay, I'll record more once I get up there and I get up with him and we start cutting wood, and we're gonna watch the background, see if we hear or see anything. But I gotta find this old guy first, and I'm kind of thinking I'm seeing or hearing something right up here. I don't even have my rectangles and circles with me, but I'm detecting. Well, I guess I'll be driving up. Hey, I'm back, guys. I was getting ready to head back to the house and get my chainsaw and drive up to his place, but something's got me cut off and surrounded. Something just threw something at me. There's something straight back there. You see that? Watch. I'm going to flip the phone and zoom. There's something large and brownish gray back there, guys. Back here. Oh my gosh. It's looking right at us. Back here. That's not the hermit. What is right there? Hey guys, this is the morning of day 4 up here at the Hermit's Homestead, helping him, as you can see, cut up a lot of this wood. We cut up an entire, well, I cut up an entire huge red oak just yesterday. There's a few odd things going on that I want to kind of get on recording here. Number one, I have not seen the hermit since yesterday morning when I saw him at the edge of my woods, followed him into the woods, and then he just vanished. I came back up here that day, which is yesterday, and worked, as you could see, most of the day, and he never showed up. So I came up early this morning. It's like 6 o'clock right now in the morning, and he's not here. So I don't know if he went into town. I don't know what's going on. I'm starting to get a little bit concerned. Number two, this is another weird thing. As you know, if you follow the channel, we have a bunch of hens, egg layers. We had 2 hens. We called them our cantankerous hens, or as they'd say here in Virginia, trifling. They would never stay in the pen. They'd fly out whenever they wanted, and we just kind of gave up, which we knew their days were numbered because we have a lot of foxes and hoxes where we live. And there's one red fox in particular who doesn't seem to be afraid of anything. He or she would come down and hang out by the chicken pen and roll around on its back and scratch its back and all this. So about 2 weeks ago on Mother's Day, this is late May, I think. Yeah, this is May. So just a week or 2 ago was Mother's Day. We went into town. I took my beautiful bride, Dearly, aka Giggly Girl, and our son. We got together, went into town, went to dinner for Mother's Day, and we came back and these 2 hens were dead. We just found piles of feathers. We, just did the math. It had to have been the fox, right? So this morning, about 5:30 in the morning, I'm walking around through my front field where we have, 400 trees or whatever we planted. And right in the middle of this man-made forest we've created is this fox, and it's dead. Now, I thought about putting it on video, but I just don't think that kind of thing's appropriate. I don't think it would violate any YouTube policies or anything like that, but there's just, just because you have the right to do something doesn't make it the right thing to do. So I'm not going to show you the carcass of this beautiful creature. And we didn't begrudge it for killing our hens. It did what it's designed to do by nature, and it has to eat. But I have to ask, what is it that killed this fox and why? And then now thirdly, you see behind me this empty Dorito bag? I brought this up here with me yesterday on the mountain when I came up to work in my lunch bucket, and I guess I took them out to eat them. I had 2 sandwiches, ham and cheese and mayonnaise, and these chips. I ate the sandwiches, but I didn't eat the chips because I was full. I guess I thought I put it back in my lunch bucket or something, but obviously I left them. Well, I came up here this morning and I see the empty wrapper. Two things I want to point out about this. And I know what you're saying, oh, we hear cars, you can't be on top of a mountain. Just over here to my right, your left as you're viewing this, is a steep drop off, and there's a road way down there, and it makes it sound like it's closer than it is. But anyway, this bag was not ripped open. It was open from the top. And inside is this a way of saying thank you? Day 4. I'm hoping the hermit's going to show up. But I got to get to work. I'll check back in with you later. Hey guys, this is day 5 and the final day of this project. And it has ended a little bit more strange than I could ever have imagined. I'm heading back down off the mountain back to my place. So I got up to the old hermit's place this morning, and I see this big old black pickup truck and a guy and a girl about my age, you know, late 40s, standing there. I get up there and the guy says to me, hey, you the one that cut up all this wood for us? I said, yeah. He said, well, I sure do appreciate it. I said, well, you're welcome. I said, I've been up here helping the old guy all week. And he said, you have? And he looked over at who turns out is his wife, and they kind of chuckled. He says, so you seen him too, did you? I said, well, sure I seen him. I said, I haven't seen him the last few days. I said, but he came down to the house a couple weeks ago and introduced himself. And yeah, I left out the whole PBS stuff. I didn't want, I mean, I don't know how much these folks knew, but I didn't want, get my 6 while I tell you this story. So anyway, I said, yeah, I haven't seen him the last few days. I told him the last time I saw him was up here a couple days ago. Down here, disappeared into my woods. And they laughed and they said, all right, so what kind of deal is it you made with the old guy? And I said, well, I told him I'd help him cut up this wood he had laying around. I'd take half, he'd keep half. Guy laughed and he said, well, he goes, you go on and take your half. We appreciate you doing the work you've done. You can have that. That's fair enough. I said, so are you two the couple from church that come up and keep an eye out on this guy and bring him provisions every few weeks? Guy laughed again. He says, boy, he says, let me tell you something. That's funny. He called me boy. It's an old southern country thing because we're about the same age. He goes, we don't go to church. He says, maybe on Christmas and Easter. He says, that old man that used to live up here was my great uncle. He said, we're about the last living relatives he had here in this part of the country. And we just came up to keep an eye on him when he was still living. Just like we come up every couple of weeks to keep an eye on the place, make sure nobody's hampering around with it now. I said, still living? What are you talking about? He smiled. He said, he's been dead for 2 years now. And I was like, you're kidding me, right? And he laughed. He said, don't worry, you're not the only one that's seen him, and you're not the only one that's talked to him in the last couple of years. He said, there's always been strange things going on up here on this land. It's been in the family for centuries. We've never been able to explain any of it, but we're not surprised to see that it's still going on. So he and I worked together. We moved some of those big rounds we'd cut together and brought them out, took them out into his field so I can go back and split them, and he's up there still splitting today. I might go back up for my wood, and I might just never go back to that place again. So guys, it appears as if the old hermit's homestead was haunted, but when I found out just from whom or by whom, my blood ran cold. We'll see you next time for more here at the PBS S, the Potential Bigfoot Sasquatch Show here at Homesteading Off the Grid.